Hi, and welcome to Alaskan in the Philippines, but in Thailand. I'm here in Hua Hin. I thought I'd talk about some of the nature and wildlife I've seen so far here in Hua Hin. It really, other than a few small things, it's really not like it was back home in Alaska, where I had a bunch of stuff all over the place, a bunch of wildlife to beware of, actually. But here, everything's pretty safe. I've seen monkeys so far was the biggest animal I've seen. They might probably have some kind of deer and stuff in the hills. I don't know. I want to go exploring more and see what other wildlife. I was always interested in animals as a kid. So I find it fascinating wherever I am to see animals that I've only seen in storybooks and movies and things like that. Here I was wondering, of course, when I got here, what the wildlife would be around here. And so far, just wandering around the city, like I say, I haven't been out in the countryside yet, and that's where I want to go yet. Hiking in the mountains, I got to do that. That's my thing to do. And on the beach, there's a lot of biological wildlife on the beach too. All kinds of sea creatures down there, all over the place. Interesting and cool ones. I've videoed some. If you look through my shorts, you'll see a lot of weird things I've seen on the beach. But yeah, and there's monkeys, there's gray squirrels of all things. I was surprised to see gray squirrels, and a lot of them. They running around here in Hua Hin all over the place and living in the trees and stuff, running down the telephone wires. They actually put these cage things over the telephone poles. Even the poles are concrete, a lot of them. They have these little webbing made of like fish webbing cage that hangs out, bell-shaped, hanged out over on a telephone poles to keep the rodents from going up. And I think it's because of them squirrels, maybe monkeys too, because I see monkeys on the wires down here in Soy 94. And they didn't say there's no monkeys down here. That's like right in the middle of the bar action, everything. But I saw a troop of like 20 monkeys walking down the telephone wires because they're real thick and they were all on fours. I had to step back and I thought it was normal, but I asked around, not normal, I guess. They're showing up or migrating to some other patch. People here, I heard my neighbor tell me that, the guy I met, English guy I met from the UK, he told me that as long as a Thai grows a fruit tree or some kind of vegetable, I think they said fruit tree, to show it's growing some food, that they get tax-free on them lots. And I notice every empty lot, they'll have a plant of banana trees or a papaya tree, one single papaya tree or one mango tree. Everybody has a fruit tree in their yard. Almost everybody does. And I heard it was to get away from or to avoid taxes. I guess there was a time they starved here. My other neighbor did tell me that. He said there was a starving period around here. So maybe that was an encouragement to get people to grow their own food. But anyway, the monkeys must have access to all this fruit in the city. So wherever they go, everybody's got a fruit tree. They can raid down the neighborhood if, there's bananas everywhere, bananas, coconuts. I don't know how they probably don't eat coconuts much, but they raid all these other fruit trees. I see other different kinds of fruit growing, and the monkeys could easily be in the city. But that's one I've seen. That got the squirrels, monkeys. They had lizards. I seen a big lizard, like bigger than I can show here. It's about 2 or 3 feet, 2 feet long with its tail, and it was running like a weird sideways thing, and it ran real fast. And I've only seen one of them. It was that big. Other than that, there's lizards all over the place. Every wall you come to in the evening is just covered with these small little lizards running around. Very common. Same with the Philippines. You'll be in your house or in a hotel room, and they'll be walking across the walls and up on the ceilings and coming through the crack under the door. So they're all over, little lizards. And then they have birds. I've seen the main bird you'll see around here in Thailand is myna birds. That's what I'm assuming they're myna birds. They look just like the ones I remember seeing in a cage of myna birds. And they make all kinds of squawking sounds. Pretty good singing in the morning. They sing every morning. They're pretty loud. And they're very common. They're like a robin, as common as like a robin back in the States. So they have myna birds, and they're all over everywhere. There's pigeons here. They have pigeons all over the place in the city here. They have a small little Asian dove that's quite common, but they also had a bigger dove that looked to me just like a mourning dove, like a American mourning dove. I don't know if they came from America or whatever, but it looked just like mourning doves. I've seen a pair of them around here. They were bigger than the smaller Asian ones that you see all over the place in Asia. They have them here too. They have crows here, amazingly. They're a big crow. They look just like our raven, about the size of our raven back in Alaska, which is bigger than your average crow. But these things have a small voice like a small Southeast Alaska crow, or like a crow where they go, caw, 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 but really high pitched, like they sound like they're a miniature crow, but they're a good sized crow. And big as our ravens in Alaska. So them are a few of the things. There's a lot of frogs. I hear the frogs at night. They have one that sounds like a cow. Burr, burr, real loud. And then there's others, all kinds of them. And whenever it rains, it fills up this swamp here, or any little swamp. There's a couple of little yards that flood out around here, and the frogs come out of the ground or something, and they'll start singing. It's really loud. You walk by it at night around this neighborhood, there's a frog. There's a lot of frogs. You hear them all the time. And then there's some kind of there's other kinds of small birds I haven't identified. And there's a bigger one with kind of a long tail. I don't know if it hunts other birds or something. I haven't seen any birds of prey, although I thought them might be. They have a long tail and they look like they were some kind of bird of prey. Other than that, that's about all I've seen here. And then all the crabs and all the cool stuff on the beach, all the weird there's lots of hermit crabs and everything. You can just have fun looking at all the jellyfish and things on the beach down there. I want to go snorkeling and see what's under the water. That's got to be cool. So yeah, and they have bats, a lot of bats. I haven't seen the big fruit bats. I saw them in the Philippines. I saw them a couple of times in the Philippines. One came right into the yard and was eating the guavas right out of this tree right in front of the place in Dumaguete where I was staying. Great big one. I ran in to grab my flashlight and came back out. It was gone. But I've also seen them flying around above Dumaguete up around Valencia in the mountains. I've seen a couple of them hit the big, man. These bats are 3 feet long. They're big as a raven. They're a little bigger even. They're pretty big. But all I've seen here is the small little bats. They're flying around. And of course, all the domestic animals. There's cows and a lot of horses here. Everybody has a lot of horses for their tourism. They go on the beach and sell horse rides. So the whole neighborhood's full of horses. Every few houses has a horse or two. This block over here has a half a dozen or more than that, probably three houses that I know for sure that have horses. 3, just right in this short street over here. So, and then the guy down the road here has about 6-8 cattle. They all bring them up to graze on this land out here. It's an empty lot with just the only patch of grass because everything's concrete here. It's concrete road right up to a brick wall or a concrete wall of everybody's houses. So it's a concrete road, concrete wall on both sides everywhere you go, mostly around here in the suburban roads where people live. That's how it is. It's kind of and the roads are narrow too. But anyway, those are a few of the animals I've seen here so far. Not so much. And can kind of compare that to back in Alaska where I lived. I used to have to live with a loaded gun all the time during the summer. And I had one always handy in the winter too. Because I lived right on 450 miles west of Anchorage on the Yukon River in an Eskimo village, but I lived out of town of the Eskimo village. So I was out right on the edge of the wilderness where anything could walk through the yard, and it does. They do. Bears, moose. So I always had that 7mm mag ready, not loaded in the chamber, but I always had a gun there. I usually had 2 of them on a flashlight in case it was at night. I always had a good flashlight, headlamp, just always ready. And when I camp, every time if we go camping or anywhere, if we leave the house, go out and get in the boat somewhere, we always bring a gun, always, because there's mean bears and there's moose, and I always had to worry about wildlife. It was always a relaxing feeling in the fall or in the winter when I knew the bears were asleep. We didn't have polar bears, luckily, although they have been spotted 70 miles from where I lived. They had polar bears show up once in a while. But yeah, we didn't have those. So it was always a calming time of year. You didn't have to worry about those. But moose are just as bad. I've been attacked by moose a couple of times. My snow machine have, not me actually. I've had one come walk right up and hit my snow machine with its head, and I had to get off and run back. And we didn't have a gun. That was a stupid time. I was traveling, just hauling a load of antlers up to the airport, and had a moose, come. When they get on the trail and the snow is deep, they won't get off the trail. They'll just stand there and stand their ground. This one came walking, slowly swinging its head back and forth, walking up the trail to me. I got off my snow machine and walked back to my buddy behind me. He was a ways away back there. I just kept walking back to him. I took my shovel. That's all I had was a shovel. And then the moose come up and walked all the way up to my snow machine. My snow machine was still running, and it hit it with its head real hard and then freaked out. And then from the vibration, I think it took off and ran down the trail. I thought, damn. Walked up again, got on my snow machine. Here it come again, doing the same thing, swinging its head again. So we quickly turned around and got out of there and had to take another way home. And it's quite common. I had another one jump my snow machine one time. And that cow, if it's got a calf, she'll attack almost every time if you jump her when the calf is young. Another time, I had a moose chase me down the road in my truck after we just dropped off another load of antler, just right after the one that was hit my snow machine. About 2 weeks later, the next load of antler I hauled with my truck, I dropped the antler off at the airport and got him and was driving away and going about 25 miles an hour down the road. And my partner sitting in the passenger seat goes, "Hey, look, there's a moose." And I looked over and there was a cow moose in the ditch, about 30 yards out in the ditch, away from the ditch. But it took off a dead run right for the truck with its ears down, its hair sticking up. And I was like, "Are you kidding me?" I had to speed up the truck and get away from it. And I looked back and there was a little bloody calf laying right there. She just dropped her calf. So they're very protective. And you don't want to mess with a moose. So that's few things that I used to have to worry about. That's not a worry anymore. That's kind of a good thing, because they were and the moose population there is just getting out of control. They're all over my yard. I go out and there's moose in the yard now. It went from no moose to a high population of moose there now, and it's really high. We're allowed to hunt 2 or 3 a year. It's actually they just allow us to shoot as much as we want practically, and they do. And it's good meat too, but there's just so many of them that it's getting kind of dangerous. They don't want to get off the trails in the wintertime when that's the only packed trail in the trees. Snow machine trails, the moose will get on them and feed on them. They won't want to get off when you drive trying to get through them, and they're so narrow you can't turn around or anything. It's a bad situation. But anyway, I always kept a gun in the house. And when I walk out of the porch every morning, my head's on a swivel. First thing I do is I look around, because you never know what's just standing right there. You just never know. And I had chickens and stuff, and I had 2 dogs too. That would always warn me. Usually warn me, not always. Sometimes something would sneak in without the dogs knowing it too. So I had one of my dogs was a half wolf, so he was pretty alert. He was always hear if something come, he'd be the first to know and let me know. Their barking sure kept a lot of animals away. Like when we had bear problems coming around, like every year summer there would be a lot of bears in the village, and the men would go out and shoot them. They would announce on the radio, "Anybody want to go hunt these bears? They're coming around." They'd go out and they'd get half a dozen men. They'd go shoot bears for the evening and see how many they can get and shoot them all that come into the village. They don't tolerate the bears there for good reason, But anyway, so that's some of the wildlife differences back in Alaska. Of course, we had seals. I've walked out of my house, living right on the river. I got to see all the wildlife, all kinds of, just every day. It was always beavers and fox and wolf up through the yard sometimes. Bear one time floating down the ice and got off the iceberg and swam right to the beach towards me and my buddy standing there in the yard. I had to run in and get a get my gun and run out and shoot under its feet to get it turned and running up the beach and put a couple more under its feet. Should have shot it. Everybody's, why didn't you just kill it? But I didn't want a dead stinking bear in front of the house, so I didn't. I scared it away. It didn't come back. But there's always that. And then what else have I seen? I've seen a walrus swimming up the river before. I've seen seals, whales, right in front of my house, just coming out, sitting, looking out right in front of them. There's cranes, swans, millions of geese go over the house. Fox, there's wolverines. They're hard to see. I've seen a few of them, but not right at the house. They're there though. The tracks go right up the creek by my house. They come around. I've seen their tracks. Lynx, a lot of lynx. Lots of lynx. Big cats. They're pretty big. They're pretty cool. See them sometimes. I was a trapper. I trapped lynx. That was what I made my living on in the wintertime. One of my best years, I got 80 lynx, and I bought a house. I actually paid for a house with the lynx for that year. And I bought a second house after that. So, but yeah, that fed me through the winters. Trapping was one of the few things I could do there in the wintertime for employment and food too. I ate the beavers and muskrats and lynx. We ate lynx. Anything else, we'd snare rabbits. They had big giant Arctic hares there. They're big giant jackrabbits. We'd get those, eat those. And caribou too. There was caribou. So it's just some of, muskox. One time there was a muskox, more than once, walked across the river, frozen Yukon River, and walked right up through my yard, next door to my yard anyway. A couple of muskox before did that. So I had a big taste of wildlife in Alaska. And here it's small and not so worrisome. That's kind of nice. You never have to worry. But there is snakes. I should mention the snakes. I've seen 2 or 3 dead ones now. I don't know what killed them. They were run over, I think, motorcycles or somebody. They run them over probably when they see them slithering on the road or on the sidewalk. One looked like it was fat and poisonous, kind of a viper-looking thing. Would have been poisonous. And the others were just rat snakes. Although my neighbor over here informed me that right after the construction project left, a big giant python slithered through the lot right over here where the cows and the horses are eating. A big python. He said it was a pretty good sized python, 2 meters or something like that. So I don't know. They have those around here, something to worry about. Yeah, and they have, so what else? I've seen rats, not many like the Philippines. The Philippines has a lot of rats. I see them quite common. Here I've only seen one. It was running right next to me on the road there. Just one so far. And they have mongoose here. I've been seeing mongoose, a lot of mongooses. Probably squirrels and mongooses. They both look very similar. So you can tell the mongoose got the little bit of striping on their back and on their tail. Yeah, I've seen a few of those. I didn't know what they were. I thought they were rats, and then I thought they were squirrels, but they turned out they were mongoose, and then the squirrels. So that's about all I could think of here, what I've seen so far. I wonder, there's probably pigs, and maybe there's some kinds of deer or goats in the hills. I don't know, but that'd be interesting to see and find. I'll photograph whatever I can. I'm real interested in animal wildlife, and especially here. So as I explore more, hopefully I'll bump into some more species and get some more on camera. That's always fun. Well, anyway, that's a few of the animals that I've seen here and what I had back home. Thought you guys might be interested in that, to know when you're coming. Of course, there's fish too. I've watched these guys. This waters are full of all kinds of fish, just with cast nets, walking in up to their chest, and they'll throw their cast net, and they're pulling out these giant, good 5-6 pound, look like some kind of rockfish, spiny spines on them and stuff, but all other kinds of smaller fish too. But they're really doing good. Just you bring in a whole bag full of fish, one cast with their cast nets. And I see guys fishing too, so you can probably do some pretty good fishing here. I got to explore that yet too. So someday I'll get to it yet, as soon as I get things taken care of. Well, anyway, I better cut this short. It's getting a little too long. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe if you learned anything, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.